What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 11 of season 1 of Kaiju number 8. We're going to be talking full spoilers ahead, so if you've watched this episode, especially this far into the season, as I hear it's just about to end, and definitely feels like it. So let's do a real quick recap. Basically, Kafka has been captured since the last episode. They've apprehended him, and they are transporting him to the main HQ. We are informed during the transition to there that basically the 3rd Division doesn't view him as an enemy. They're trying to put together a testimony to try and help prove that he is a human. And everybody's kind of dealing with that in different ways. They're discussing things. They're talking about, like, if he's a kaiju, somebody else could be a kaiju. There's no way to know. They're talking about basically the dynamics of their group and how he is part of that group, and they're trying to find ways to help. There is also, I forgot what happened right after they go. He gets locked up at the HQ. Mm-hmm. They do tests on him. They end up finding out that he doesn't have a heart, he has a core, which is more reason to believe he's a kaiju for the people who weren't there being saved by him or working with him. Kikoru, I think that's her name, talks to her dad about it, who's the general, and he is definitely not hearing it really. He's not very interested in that conversation, and we find out at one point that her mom was killed by a kaiju, and so he has that kind of ambition on why he's acting that way. The thing I was going to bring up, Mina ends up telling four of the dudes from 3rd Division that they are being split up basically because the main training facility has been destroyed so much that they need to continue the training in different places, spread them out. They're under the suspicion that more Daikaijus could be coming, and at the same time. So they need people to be basically ready. And so that's the plan. And trying to think of other things, but mostly it's just people discussing the situation. We get to a point, though, after a bunch of tests, the general dude comes in to basically dispose of Kafka, also to prove to himself, and I guess to others, that he is a kaiju. He ends up attacking him with the second Daikaiju they ever ran into. I forgot what his name was, but Kaiju number 2. He has these fist weapons made of material from that kaiju, and so he's able to attack Kafka in a way that most people can't. He was also said to be, at one point, one of the strongest, or if not the strongest, dude that's part of the defense force. And it definitely seems like that in the scene when he's attacking him. Kafka is trying to prove he's human by not attacking back and using as little as he can. And he's trying to survive long enough to basically wear him out, let his suit overpower. But he's relentlessly attacking him, taking his limbs off, taking his legs off. And then we are left at the end of the episode with Kafka basically not being in control of his body anymore. We get a scene of him in basically darkness, being told to kill by... Was that the same thing that spit the thing into him at the very beginning?
It's the thing that crawled into him.
Yeah. The thing crawled him. Whatever. That thing. It's basically telling him to kill, and he's also kind of questioning, like, why can't I control myself? Am I human? And Kikuru is also kind of saying that as well, as Kafka gets ready to attack the general, and he's starting to transform as well, which is also worth noting. And we're left there. So episode 12 will be a crazy one, it seems. Thoughts?
It was a pretty decent episode. There wasn't a whole lot to really go off because it was mostly just kind of like talking, getting everyone's perspective. It's nice to know that obviously the whole division, views him as still Kafka and not as Kaiju number 8 specifically.
Similarly to the rest of the whole season, we've talked about pacing. I actually appreciate that we didn't get this long drawn out, like, do they trust him? Do they not trust him? They're all just like, no, we were with you the whole time. Like, you're not the enemy to us. So I'm glad. Like, okay, we're skipping that.
Right. And he went to talk to Mina right off the bat, and she just wasn't even like participating in that until they got into the transport carrier, and then she was just like, "Hey, there's no cameras in here.
Yep.
We can talk for a moment." So, so that was nice, and then obviously seeing everyone's different personalities and their way they're handling it, and a couple of them trying to like reach out to different contacts and stuff like that to try to help out. But I mean, really, what this episode just kind of serves as is a cliffhanger to see, like, is he human? Which I'm sure predictably he will be fine next episode, but the beating he was taking was fun in the regards of like seeing another Daikaiju suit basically being able to push him to a point where like his body, basically the kaiju inside of him, had to kind of take over. It kind of reminds me a little bit of it's gonna be a weird example for some, I'm sure, but like in Bleach, Ichigo has a hollow inside of him, and when he gets damaged too much, the hollow takes over. So it's kind of a similar idea. So
hopefully that's not too much of a spoiler.
It's an old show. If you haven't seen it, that's not my problem. So yeah. I mean, it's pretty much all I got to say on it. It was fine. It needs a part 2 to be a full bit, though. So
what if the next episode is the last episode of the whole show and the whole manga, and they find out that he was a kaiju and they kill him, and that's it? That'd
be a short story.
That'd be a terrible show. Yeah. Yeah, it was fine. It was a fine episode. It was a lot of discussion, like you said, a lot of people talking about like, oh, we got to help him. He's a human. And then we end up finishing with, this big drawn out attack from the general, basically. I did like that the squad was on his side and they're trying to help him. I'm curious to see what happens with splitting everybody up. That doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me, but it's happening, so it's worth mentioning. It was interesting to see a little bit of dynamic between Kikoru and her dad. We saw a flashback at one point in a prior episode of their dynamic. Obviously, it wasn't that great, and we saw more of that here. Also, getting the tidbit about the mom dying by the kaiju, and also her talking earlier about how they can use kaijus to make weapons or whatever, and then we get a scene of this, weapon they made from a kaiju from like the 1970s, which I thought was an interesting bit of lore for the world, even because the show's not super deep in terms of its lore. But I appreciate some of the history on that because it kind of gives us perspective of how long they've been fighting these things and when the first time they fought something like that was. It's also interesting to see that something from back then is still being used as a weapon now, which makes sense because it seems super powerful. So I'm curious about what other weapons have been made from these Daikaijus. Also, I don't know if this is going to come up ever in the show or not. I'll be curious, but when they had mentioned that Kafka was a kaiju and that other people could be, it'd be really interesting if someone among them was a kaiju. But I don't know if they will be or not. I don't know, because we already got one dude who's kind of playing up being a human and then actually being a kaiju. He's the opposite of Kafka, but I think it'd be a really interesting twist if somebody among them was a kaiju the whole time, but they'd be doing a really good job because the other guy doesn't know how to be a human. So, just a thought as they threw out there. And then the last scene was interesting as a fight scene. I guess it is always kind of annoying to watch Kafka hold back because obviously he doesn't want to kill people, but when they're attacking or whatever, and he's just letting them do it, it's like, oh my god. But yeah, I get why he's doing it. I am curious to see how he gets out of the situation because the general guy seems to be pretty on board with just killing him unless he's just testing him, which I assume might be the case unless something crazy happens and he escapes and he's just on the run, which would be a whole different direction for the anime. But I did kind of get it reminded me of a lot of animes where people are like attacking somebody, trying to see their final form, like show me your, real power level, whatever the fuck, and it kind of felt like that, where he's just like attacking him relentlessly because he, it seems like he's trying to kill him, but he's like, I'm just trying to see, what you are, blah blah blah. So we'll see where that goes. I'm not super on board with any of it, but we'll see where it goes. Yeah, definitely, like you said, I need to see the next episode to really have a full opinion of this because of the cliffhanger nature of it. But it was interesting. It was interesting. But definitely want to see the next episode to get a resolution to this and see the end of the season, I guess. So, yeah, can't wait to see it, which will be this weekend, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to say?
I was going to bring up, they had mentioned also in the episode that there was a country experimenting with mixing kaiju with people, which
somebody had heard that, yeah.
Slight nod towards, I think, the situation is probably happening. They were real quick to just kind of like say it and like get past it, though. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember hearing that. They said they had heard that some country was experimenting with that, which would explain why there's also humanoid kaijus and stuff, and also the barrage of kaiju showing up.
Just the dai kaijus are rare, and they've already seen 3 new ones now. So
yeah, but then it's like, what country would just be sending those over to Japan?
America.
Yeah, maybe, or Russia or something. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to bring that up. Anything else? All right, let us know in the comments what you guys think of this episode. What were some of the biggest things that stood out to you, favorite moments, maybe something that happened in the episode that we can discuss that you want us to talk about or you want to talk about. Let us know in the comments. Also, please no spoilers. We're almost at the end of the season. We've gone in blind. We want to finish it blind. We have not read the manga, and I know you guys will appreciate our want for that, and we appreciate you for it. But yeah, stay tuned. We have reviews for Demon Slayer. We'll be finishing that out soon as well. And we will be doing the last episode of this season, of course. And we have started watching, and we're about a third of the way through, because it's only like 12 episodes, of Sandland. And we'll be doing a season review of that. So whether you're watching it, you have watched it, or plan on watching in the future, watch it now and then come back, and we'll have a full review of that season and talk to you about what we thought of it. But yeah, until then, I've been Seth, this has been Chevy, and we'll talk to you guys later.